Fire an ambulance. You're lying. We have got 9 people with second and third-degree burns here.
In an instant, an Indianapolis highway becomes a death trap. The flick of a lighter engulfs a box truck full of paints, lacquers, and men. 13 commercial painters spill onto the interstate, burning alive. Drivers stop to help, but there isn't much they can do.
They were just in pain and agony. Their skin was falling off.
Wishart Hospital's Level 1 Burn Center mobilizes quickly.
What's the rate of Miller's IV fluid?
Got a lot of work to do. I think it's prudent that we start as soon as we can.
We'll be fine. You're gonna be fine, honey. You're gonna be fine.
This is the story of 4 men and the people who love them. A year-long journey that took them from the brink of death to a life they never imagined. A journey to hell and back. Ask any doctor about burn recovery, and they'll tell you it is unlike anything else in medicine. Incomprehensible, unpredictable, unforgiving. I'm Ann Ryder. You know how painful a minor burn can be. Imagine that feeling through your entire body. It is one of the most devastating injuries the human body and psyche can suffer. Now, for the first time, our cameras go inside the Wishart Burn Center and into the lives of 4 men and their families. We committed 1 year to this story and could not have predicted the outcome. It's a story of medical teamwork, the will to live, and the power of love. Danny Maple is a 32-year-old husband and father. He has 3rd-degree burns over 42% of his body, which has swollen to nearly twice its normal size.
When the first Wayne Township fire crew arrived...
Now, hours later, he's in an induced coma, a ventilator breathing for his traumatized lungs. The burn center waiting room is packed with the painters' families and nervous energy. Danny's wife, Dawn, just signed a consent form for surgery.
You okay? No, I'm not. I'm really not. Scary, confusing. I'm numb. I'm alone. When I go home at night, he's not there. And I know he's not going to walk through that door.
Danny and Dawn have 2 young children at home.
The kids love you. I love you.
Reality and fatigue are setting in. The first 48 hours of a burn are the most critical to survival and the most emotionally taxing to the families.
I don't see the burns. I don't see those. I see my Danny. I see the man I married.
But the trained eyes of the Wishart Burn team see months of work ahead. Dozens of surgeries to graft skin, weeks of treatment for infection and other complications.
We got a lot of work to do, so I think it's prudent that we start as soon as we can.
Dr. Rajiv Sood is the Wishart Burn Center's medical director.
If you've got a 75% burn, that burn patient's going to stay in your unit 3 months. And you're going to operate on that patient a minimum of 15 to 20 times. Well, I want to start autographing him.
Anything can happen in the first 48 hours.
Are they out of the woods? No. And the families know that.
Down the hall from Danny Maple, his friend, Jason Miller, is wrapped like a mummy. He has just a 1 in 3 chance he'll survive his injuries. The fire burned him over nearly 70% of his body. He's just 27, the father of 4 boys, and his mother's only son.
Please don't take my sunshine away.
Jason was in shock when he sat on the median being doused with drinking water. Now, in a coma, he risks organ failure from dehydration. His skin burns from the inside out, rerouting basic body functions. His temperature's dropping, his metabolism skyrocketing. Without moving a muscle, Jason's body is running the equivalent of a non-stop marathon. Jason's girlfriend, Julia, mother of 3 of his children, watches a ventilator breathe for him.
I know it hurts.
We're all here for you, honey.
2 doors down, Joe Gallagher, a 28-year-old crew supervisor, is the worst. Several cans of lacquer blew up under his seat. Strong-willed and tough, he is in for the fight of his life. Joe has 3rd-degree burns from his head to his ankles, 85% of his body. He inhaled smoke, increasing his death risk 3-fold.
You will be fine. I love you.
Joe's mother, Pearl, clings to the 1 in 10 chance he'll make it.
When I first saw him, I could not believe how bad he looked.
As Joe sleeps in a coma, Jasmine, his 2-week-old baby girl, sleeps as well. Her mother, Brandy,
Love you, baby. You're doing
helps keep the vigil at his bedside.
I jumped.
Joe's colleague, Josh Littleton, with burns over 13% of his body, knows he's comparatively lucky, but he cannot get the fire out of his mind.
I was just going. Next thing I know, I fall down and I hit the ground. Joe's on the side of me and Danny's on the side of me. And I'm on fire, they're on fire, and I'm rolling, and I just jump up and I start pacing.
Josh clings to his wife, Charlene.
I've never met anyone like this. She does everything for me.
Josh and the shell-shocked families watch the clock as Danny, Jason, and Joe all survive the critical first 48-hour mark. But their ordeal has just begun.
You guys love Daddy a whole bunch, don't you?
3 days after the fire, Dawn Maple leaves Danny's side to come home to their children to try to explain. Haley, a 1st grader, saw the fire on TV. Little Danny, age 3, is just glad to see his mom.
Strong for Daddy. Oh, thank you. Are those flowers for me? He'll be home before we know it, won't he?
Even for the years up,
Yep, he sure will.
you think you will be able to spend my birthday with me?
I'm hoping.
Danny is a hands-on father. His absence leaves a hole in the family. Dawn sticks to routines.
Listen to the owl say,
Hoo, hoo, hoo.
But she won't sleep in their bed until Danny comes home.
Yes.
At Wishard, Josh, who is recovering quickly, has skin grafts under his belt, paint still under his nails, and therapy underway. Pain is part of the process. Burned skin is subject to daily scrubs in the tub.
And that's what it feels like.
If we're not causing pain during that process, we're not doing our job.
The Burn Center OR is on overtime. Skin grafting begins on all the painters within 3 days. The donor's skin is harvested, stretched, and meshed, then applied to raw tissue where it quickly expands and grows. Surgeons can graft cadaver skin or a patient's own healthy skin taken from another part of their body.
It is the best take because it's your own. You don't have the ability to reject it. You won't have a problem fighting infection with that skin because it's yours.
It's now 6 days after the fire, and it's Danny's 2nd surgery. This time they're putting on some of his own skin. Danny's surgery goes well.
that's good. I'm excited. I'm so excited. I didn't know they were doing the grafting today.
10 days after the fire, Danny begins to wake up. He's highly medicated, agitated, and confused. Dawn is able to calm him down.
Kiss? You want a kiss? How's that? How's that?
3 days later, infection sets in. Serious, but routine.
Minor setback. That's all you have to worry about. Minor setback.
Okay.
I tell these families, I tell them very clearly when they come in what to expect. Expect a pneumonia in the 2nd week of burn care. Expect to get septic, sick from bacteremia within the 3rd and 4th week. Bacteria love dead things. They love dead tissue. They will grow in that tissue. And the #1 reason for burn patients not making it is infection.
Dawn wears the worry on her face, but doesn't want to pass it to Danny, who is lucid at last.
I don't care how hard you gotta fight. It's not your time. You hear me?
No, it's not my time.
And you don't.
I got babies out there to take care of.
Because I'm fighting for you, whether I'm here or whether I'm at home.
I know, baby.
I'm fighting for you.
I know. I love you.
And I ain't going nowhere. You ain't changed to me.
I love you.
I want you to know that.
I know.
You haven't changed not one bit to me.
I haven't changed.
The hours, days, and months in a burn unit are measured in seasons and pain. The wound cleaning and bandage changes are the most painful part of the day.
Tender spots.
There's too much time to think.
These are all working guys and work with their hands, just like we do, and it's a huge concern to them.
Danny is plagued by depression and longing. But home and family are a powerful incentive. His desire for his family getting stronger.
I love my wife very much. If it wasn't for her, I don't think I could have dealt with all this.
1 month after the fire, a pinnacle visit.
I think you're probably going to be okay to go home. What do you think, Danny?
You're the doctor. I mean, as far as that.
You're the patient.
I'd love to be able to go home.
Right. That's what I would think.
Josh already has the good news. He is free to leave, but he'll come back for outpatient therapy for months. He makes the rounds of the rooms of his friends, stopping longest with Joe, the most seriously burned of all the painters.
Blink your eyes for me, please, Joe. I love you, buddy. You okay?
No.
Calm down. Let me help you.
Josh and Charlene leave the Wishart Burn team an award and drive home. Danny is the next to leave. The moment he's awaited, his children in his arms, finally arrives.
Yeah, my boo-boo's gone, buddy. Babies.
Bye. I cried every single night for 42 nights. I cried. On that 43rd night, I didn't. For the first time at night, I didn't cry.
But back at the burn center, tears still come easily for Pearl Gallagher, Joe's mother, who has watched 2 of his colleagues leave, knowing she has months ahead on her vigil.
These burn patients go through hell, but they're in a coma. The families have to see them every day, and it is hell.
Despite his grave injuries, Joe's grit and determination emerge early. 8 days after the fire, coming out of the coma, a show of strength on the way to surgery. Joe is so seriously burned, he doesn't have enough healthy skin for grafting. Surgeons take bits of his skin and clone it for grafting, growing it in a lab. It's a 21-day, enormously expensive process.
A small 50-centimeter piece of skin costs $1,000.
Joe's chest alone has $60,000 worth of grafts.
Are you awake? No? You can't shake your head no when I ask you, are you awake?
Every surgery on Joe helps him heal, but takes a toll.
Surgery's all done. You did great. Don't cry, sweetheart.
It takes a toll on staff as well.
You're tired. I'm sure you've had a rough day. It's like a family, and we just kind of take turns supporting, and one day you're the supporter, the next day you're the one being supported.
A distress alarm sounds from Jason Miller's room, the other painter still critical.
Actually, I have 4 NPs. What's the rate of Miller's IV fluid?
He's bleeding profusely from a bandage change, affecting his breathing and fluids. Jason's face is healing quickly, but pain is causing him respiratory distress.
Every time he initiates a breath, the ventilator gives him a certain amount of volume. He needs a lot more than what we're giving him right now.
But they can't safely give him more than he's getting. To make matters worse, Jason has a serious infection. He'll get full-time bedside care until the crisis passes. At home, a different crisis. Bills are mounting. Jason's mother gets help from an organization called the People's Burn Foundation.
When there are needs, you have to promise to call. Don't ever run out of money again.
Okay.
Don't worry about transportation.
Thank you very much. You guys are a godsend, I'll tell you.
Jason is slow to come out of his coma and back to consciousness.
Jason, honey, I'm gonna pull you.
One month after the fire,
This is a huge step.
Jason comes off life support.
And the next step is to get him talking.
But when the words come, the fear comes to fruition.
I'll get better, right? Because I was scared, but I'm scared now.
Pain is not what scares him.
Death. Death. I don't want to die.
Two of his reasons for living come to see him the next day.
Hey, guys! Well, I got to see you!
Your daddy kissy hugs. Give him hugs. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Oh. Come here, Neil. Glad to see you, Dad?
That's my boy.
Tyler and Dylan haven't seen their father for 2 months.
Oh, so sweet. Oh, Daddy be home soon. I'll be home soon, okay? We'll play games.
By October, Jason is in a rehabilitation hospital. He has complications with burns near his eye, but he feels like a new man.
I got my trach taken out, I got my feeding tube taken out, I'm walking.
And in October, he walks out of the hospital to go home.
You really don't know how much you're affected till you do get home.
Jason is frustrated by his stiff fingers that can barely bend around the strings of his guitar. But his kids don't know the difference. Josh, now home for weeks, is still adjusting. So is his wife Charlene, who takes on an extra workload. Pain keeps Josh up at night, and mobility problems keep him down.
I don't know, it just feels like it's all just like chaotic, and it's just 3 in the morning, 1 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and I'm just like, whoa.
Soon, Josh is back to work, but he tires easily. Danny Maple is also learning that home has its hurdles.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's got to be done.
I know.
I had a breakdown this morning. I couldn't handle it anymore, and I just had to sit down and cry. Not being a man anymore, not being able to get up and do the things that I'd normally do for my family.
Pain makes it hard for Danny to sleep in the bed with Dawn. He sleeps sitting up in the recliner.
He's no less of a man than he was almost 7 weeks ago to me. He's not, and I can handle it.
One thing we know, we'll always have each other.
That's right. Yep, because I'm not going anywhere. By any means, I'm not going anywhere. And to me, he's a miracle. He's my miracle now.
At home, Danny learns to lean and take baby steps.
Your heart is beating a million miles an hour.
Danny begins intensive outpatient therapy.
Ow!
And by mid-November, it begins to pay off.
Got it.
Haley gets her wish, Daddy at her birthday party.
Make a wish.
Therapy steps up a notch, 5 hours a day to build strength and mobility. Danny begins to feel like himself again.
Okay, let's get the other side here.
And returns to work. Back Back at the burn unit, Joe, by October, is alert. Joe, can you hear me? You've been in here 3 months now. 3 months and you're doing great. Thanksgiving arrives in a box for staff.
This is our Thanksgiving, wrapped up in styrofoam. Just a little bit.
And on a spoon for Joe. But he feels thankful for the people in his life.
My family. My kids. My mom.
His righteousness and wonders of his love.
15 days before Christmas, Joe is cleared to transfer out of the burn center to the rehabilitation wing.
You lost your tooth.
Joe's first visit with his children brings a smile and emotion. But Joe's body is a constant reminder of what he's lost.
I still think it's ugly. But they said it'll get better.
Joe has bone deposits and spurs in his legs and joints from months of inactivity. The pain is excruciating.
How'd that feel?
Terrible.
Terrible. No, sorry.
But 6 months after the fire, doctors clear Joe to go home.
So you're leaving the hospital without a belly button?
Yep. Kind of strange.
He has a daunting prognosis.
All my muscles are gone in my legs. They don't know if I'll walk again. But I ain't listening to that.
Tears of joy. Tears flow for the goodbye to the staff, who say Joe is the most gravely injured patient to survive and leave the Wishart Burn Unit.
If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. Dr. Sue's great. All the nurses on the burn unit. Just great, great people. Not only my life, but everyone else's life they saved.
Joe is headed home to his mother's house in Tipton and a new life.
Ready?
Anniversary. It is still sinking in what can happen to a life in a year.
What is that?
Where?
What's that?
It's a boo-boo.
How everything can change
Ready?
in an instant.
Everything aspect of my life was basically stripped away from me. At 33 years old, where do I start over again?
Danny's 10-year marriage to Dawn has crumbled under the weight of depression, anger, and stress.
She blames it completely on the fire. I'm burnt 42% of my body. Where do you even start to pick up the pieces and go on?
For Jason Miller, it's one day, one cord at a time. A year ago, the only skin his mother could kiss was on his feet. Now she can hug him whole, and Jason's life with Julia and their children is slowly getting back to normal.
Remember that hand?
Yeah.
I couldn't even make a full fist for the longest time.
Jason is bothered by his scars, but says the fire changed him in positive ways as well.
I'm a better person than I used to be. Just appreciating life more, appreciate people more, you know.
They get jealous over each other, yeah.
For Josh Littleton, the fire is like the scars on his arm, fading, but never gone.
It's all right. It just, oh, it's weird. I can always feel it there. And then every morning I wake up, I look at it and I see it.
Charlene and Josh are working long and odd hours to pay the bills. She as an office worker and mover, he as an independent painter.
Roof over my head, my electric paid, and the necessities I need right now. That's all we can.
We move day to day together is what we do.
Their marriage has been tested to its core, but they're hanging on.
Kiss.
Love you.
Physically, Joe Gallagher has changed the most. 7 months after this.
Good. How'd that feel?
Terrible.
Terrible.
Look at Joe now. He set a goal to walk by summer. The bone spurs that cripple his legs will require surgery, but Joe's beaten the odds and the naysayers. He says therapy has given him his life back. A sense of peace has settled over the once temperamental, tough guy.
I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if I've never been one to really be able to forgive, but for some reason I do.
Joe believes his late father has been with him in spirit.
Anyone who doesn't believe there's a greater power after all of this is it's their own loss.
Even in his own loss, Joe says he's looking forward, not back.
Believe it or not, I don't have any fears anymore. I had a fear of dying at one time. I don't even fear that. I've accepted it. I feel like I'm saved.
If you were scripting the ending for this story, this would be as close to perfect as you could get. The will and sheer determination of these 4 men proves it is possible to emerge from a journey to hell and back.
First thing, eat a lot. Play with my kids. I said, this is it, I'm gonna die. And then all of a sudden, boom, a picture of her and Mom right, and I said, no, not her alone.
You know, I mean, I had a pretty close brush with death. And I don't want to ever have something like that happen again. It scares me not to be there for my children.
Remember what I looked like about 6 months ago doing this? That's amazing, Joe. It's a long way, isn't it?
Quite a difference.
Make you feel a little bit good about yourself.